being stuck in quarantine for most people, I imagine is crazy with all this uncertainty. I'm still going to work. Fortunately, like, you know, and then not as much as I used to, so it's a little stressful. Everybody's going through this time right now, so uncertainty, whether you're, you know, stuck at home or anything. You always want the best for people.
Well, non-judgmental matters a lot because it judges metal in a non-judgmental way. I mean, if you're going to judge metal, you got to do it in a non-judgmental way, or else you're just kind of being very judgmental.
One of the things that I've dealt with uncertainty in the past has been what's going to happen in the world of metal since Slayer's gone. I mean, that's a big hole to fill. I've heard people talking Lamb of God or things like that, you know, but like, let's not talk about who's going to fit the role in this uncertainty. Let's unquarantine our minds and think about, you know, what about the guys that are left in Slayer? Because you know that, you know, Tom wanted to retire, but what's Kerry King up to? What's Paul Bestaff up to? Well, an interview with Paul Bestaff actually says that they're looking. Current Overkill drummer Jason Bittner chimed in with Gary and Anselmo, man. He says that the new band is featuring Bo Staff, Kerry King, Gary Holt, and Phil Anselmo. Yeah, you know, it's subtext that does say that Gary Holt said he's going to be focused on Exodus for the time being.
Right.
But, I mean, that's pretty cool, man. Like, I mean, just the tease of it being Paul Bestaff with them. I mean, that's, you know, he's obviously the drummer for Slayer from 92 to 2001 and to 2013 up until the Final Four, which, you know, we all saw them.
Right.
I'm sure a lot of the metal community did, but I think that's a pretty exciting thing, man. Like, I know a lot of people say that, you know, Phil don't still have the chops. Obviously, Bo Staff does. Obviously, Holt, King, still excellent musicians by testament of what we saw earlier this year. But in that same regard, like, you know, I've heard people say that Phil and Solomon don't have the chops anymore, and like, yeah, maybe he's not as crisp as he once was, man, but when we saw him, I still had that tingle.
Super solid.
If I got that tingle in the nuts, that's what matters to me. So, I mean, you know, what's your take on that?
I thought he was bringing back whatever you saw back in the 90s. I think it was 99. And whenever you went and seen him, your first experience with him, like, I never experienced that.
I saw him in 96 and then twice in 2001. So, I mean, it was still pretty fresh into the Pantera career and then right at the end.
It felt like him and the Illegals, I believe is what they called themselves. Like,
yeah.
They fucking put on a hell of a show. And then Slayer came out with the fucking heat and flames and shit. So, like, it definitely was worth the price of admission. But honestly, like, I definitely see Phil coming back and getting his hands into something serious. Because, like, I know my last experience seeing Phil was his reaction to the KSI Logan Paul fight on Devin Tracy's YouTube channel, Atheism is Unstoppable. Crazy channel, but at the same time, like, because it had Phil on it, that definitely put up some credit points in my opinion. Therefore, what dude says comes with a little bit more credibility in my opinion now, so I don't know.
I just think it's exciting to hear that, you know, like, because I was wondering, I was like, Kerry King's not done. Dean Guitars, and he even said in our article the other day, Dean Guitars didn't sponsor me for nothing. Like, that's more true than you can imagine. A company like Dean's not going to throw out that type of money. I believe it was Dean, I think so. You know, like, those type of companies are not going to throw out that type of money for no reason. Like, you know, it's just that's not going to happen. You're not going to see them sponsor a musician who's on their way out. Like, I mean, what would be the financial benefit of that? So, I mean, obviously, you know, there's a future there for Kerry King, who's, you know, got his legion of fans behind him. Paul Bestaff, no joke. I mean, like, you know, just a few things to the credibility of Paul Bestaff. You know, not, you know, right off the bat we say, oh, well, fuck, dude, from Slayer, we saw him on the Final Four. I mean, he's shopping out with Slayer, that's good shit, but, I mean, he's also worked with other bands, Exodus, Testament, Systematic, who we saw back in 2004. He drummed on that first album they put out. So, I mean, he's been around for a long time, you know, killer musician. if it's true that Gary Holt's there, I mean, what more can be said? I mean, Gary Holt filled in for Hanneman, so you're talking about a superstar powerhouse of, some slamming metal motherfuckers.
Super
foul, super heavy. So, have you been jamming anything? Anything you've been listening to?
Man, I've tried to, but everything kind of sounds like trap now. So, like, I really kind of maybe put it up for a minute. Like, I just wonder, like, how would the metal community act if it was like Aversion's Crown put on that fucking face that Trap did, talking about, you guys need to stop crying and whining and just go out and make money and shit. Like, it was such a silly position for Trap to put themselves in, but when it comes down to it, I don't know. For me, it's low-hanging fruit because, like, what the fuck are they really doing?
I get it. It's like, they're being made fun of. Like, let me just to clarify before we get into a conversation about it. You're thinking it's shitty that people are picking on it because it's Trap. Like, if anyone else had this opinion, they probably wouldn't be getting so much negative controversy, you know?
I mean, maybe that's a controversial opinion, but that's what I think. Like
if Metallica came out and said it might have been a flip on Twitter for a few minutes and then moved the fuck on.
People still hate Metallica because of the Napster thing and shit. Like, that's all it takes is, like, one fucking bad press shit, and that could definitely turn a lot of fucking press and societal standards and shit. So, like, I don't know. That was just my first instinct, but then again, like, I loved fucking Trap, Echo, fucking Kill Me, whatever. It is what it is. That fucking song's gay now that I think about it. But at the time when I listened to it, it made me feel good inside, like Ghost of You by fucking My Chemical Romance. I don't fucking know why I like these songs. I just do. It's fucking weird, but to hear, like...
Yeah, we're human, and some of us are flawed, and some of us aren't.
That's what I feel, and I know how flawed I am.
Man, I like shit that nobody else likes too. Whatever. I love metal. I love slamming around. Been playing the new Doom, bloody heavy metal fucking gore fest. I'm digging it. I love that shit. But I sometimes like things that people look at me and go, what's your problem? Whatever. I like horns. I like to listen to, classical music sometimes. I like to listen to some funky stuff. Whatever. You got your own opinions. There's no harm in it. But, I don't like the Trap. I'm not going to side with you on that. But I respect your ability to enjoy it.
Another one, Papa Roach. How about that? I'm just saying, listen, I don't like any of the new shit.
Positivity out of me there.
Of course not, because of Jacoby, right? But the Infest album, 2002, fucking Last Resort, fucking comes on the radio. Everybody goes fucking crazy. Between Angels and Insects, fucking Binge, fucking Broken Home shit. Like, there was a lot of fucking hits on that album. And I ain't gonna bullshit. Like, I've been fucking jamming that lately, believe it or not, because it makes me feel like I'm still a high schooler or a graduate of some sort. Like, 35 kind of fucking sucks.
I think the problem with me is they don't hold to be timeless. I can understand why that album might have been popular when it came out, why it might have had so many hits. But remove 3 years from that process, 5 years, 10 years, release it at a different time, and it may have struggled because people just weren't into that thing. And yeah, that's like, that's an obvious take on it. But I don't necessarily think it is, because there's some albums, even in metal, that are just timeless. There's some sounds that are even just timeless. Like, we hear them, we know what they are, we appreciate them, respect them. I've recently picked up the new Ozzy record. I was looking at it and I said, I want to hear what Ozzy's got going on. He's canceling the tour. He's not doing good health-wise. Nobody wants to hear bad news about the Oz, man.
Right.
We'd like to all get to enjoy to see, him fight the head off of every bat if it would save us from coronavirus, but that's not possibly going to happen. So what we can hope for is Ozzy to release a pretty cool metal record, in this time. And what he has released, to me, is just like a really kind of weird swan song to his career, because it's just like, I swear the whole time I'm listening to it, it just sounds like he's just like, hey, yo, I'm gonna die. Guess what? It's coming soon. Like, it just feels like every song he's telling me, listen to this, that Ordinary Man song he did with Elton John. It's beautiful. It's a great track, and some of the more traditional Ozzy sounding tracks on there, man, are pretty cool for a guy his age.
Right.
So, I thought that was pretty awesome. So, but, when I remember listening to it, I even thought, I was like, man, some of these, like maybe not these songs specifically, but Ozzy records, man, some of those are timeless. And I think a lot of albums that we listened to back then don't hold up in that regard. And I'd like to actually figure out which ones you might think would be. Like, if you had to pick a couple, 2 or 3 records from the new metal era, they don't have to be new metal, but they have to be in that range, that 1995, 96 to 2002 range, the high school years. Like,
I already got one.
Album would you
I got one right off top, and we're going to take a break on this. First Instincts, Flaw Through the Eyes. Fucking come back at me, motherfucker. Best That I Can, My Letter, Payback. Fucking, I don't know, man. Like, that shit still holds up super solid. And it just saddens me how the shit went when they came back with Endangered Species and shit. But we'll be right back. We're going to take a little break.
Right.
NonjudgeMetal. Please enjoy. Share with your friends. Share this episode, goddammit.
Home and made a pork chop dinner and you didn't go? Was there a good reason you missed Born of Osiris, or is it just because you're fucking dumb?
Through the Eyes, Flaw. Yeah, that was a record I actually picked up at the record exchange, like right down the road from you at where that Kroger is.
It's a beautiful place.
I picked it up. It had a promotional sticker that hadn't been released yet, and they didn't even have their system, so they put it up there for the review. Somebody traded it in. It was like 2 weeks before it came out, and it had like a promotional do not resell sticker on it. They had it up there for like $3 because they were like, I don't know what it is. It's probably some indie band. And then like a couple weeks later, the record came out, and I was like, oh shit. But I remember listening to it, and I remember really enjoying that record then. But I think like to be a little judgmental on it, like, and I'm not going to crap on it at all, because I think at the time when I heard it, I was like, I think what I liked about that record the most was it definitely borderline like a it borderline a very like solid rock sound with that new metal spirit,
right.
And it came at it with that really catchy chorus, and the guy had a lot of the lyrics back then. I remember there was a couple times, like, what's that one song where he talks about and you frown? It's like song 2. It's like, I remember there being a couple places where the lyrics were like a little weak, like they just seemed out of place, and I was like, it just seemed like you were trying to rhyme words and you could have just not. That's me being a little shit-picky about it, but otherwise, I'll give that to you as a good personal pick. I'll do one, and then you can go for your number 2 now. And I haven't thought about this, but I just randomly asked that on thought. Because like I said, I was thinking about timeless records, so. Timeless metal records in the 96 to 2002 range.
That's from our youth, basically. And I know we've already talked about the Korn record, and I guess the self-titled Korn record probably would have to be in the top 5 automatically.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking personally. We're talking about
personally,
timeless,
yeah.
Like, and yeah, I feel like that record is, but that record came out in 94, kind of like that's why I said the 96 range, because look at it this way. New metal really started hitting with bands like Deftones and Korn in the 94, 95 area. That's when like both those major releases come out. Like I think 96 was where you really saw like Limp Bizkit, and a few years later bands like Disturbed, and you got some of those like lower known new metal bands, Spawn Shank and the like that, Ultra Spank and shit.
Right.
But I said 96 specifically, and that's why I'll give you that Flaw record, because I think it was like 2001. But 96 specifically because, like, new metal era wasn't really a thing until after those bands had hit out and everybody said, okay, well, this is kind of a new genre. And it kind of created a new metal, a new, in my opinion, from my point of view, new metal was this new thing, and there was a lot of kids getting into it, bringing people into the metal culture. But you got to think, for a guy like me, new metal was cool, and I was checking it out, but I wasn't all about that. Like, I grew up on Metallica, Slayer, Pantera, White Zombie, like, Faith No More, and solid rock, Aerosmith, Thin Lizzy, and bands like that. So my list will vary differently, but that's why I chose like the 96 range from 2002, because by the time I think 2002 hit, like in the next couple of years, you started getting more of like the metalcore bands, and that like screamo and metalcore started doing it, and I think metal really evolved, and that's where you started getting like a lot of just a different kind of act. That's where like the Lamb of God and that new wave of American metal hit. Does that sound right to you?
It does, and as soon as you bring up Lamb of God, I think Sacrament, and I don't know what year that came out, but
2006, it doesn't count. That's the
God
new wave of
damn
American
it.
metal. That's what I'm saying. 1996 to 2002 is a time of the new metal. That's why I asked you personally, because we always talked about the bands we liked when we were in high school, growing out of high school. Lamb of God, we were out of it. We were already into metal then. You were already into it. That was like the evolution of what you were going through. It's almost like a default that we were going to be like, wow, this is something cool. I like this. Let's go. I'm talking about that influential area. That's why I asked for Timeless Records. Flaw was a good answer because it came out in that range,
right,
and I can understand why it inspired you. So, and if you need, I could probably help you with dates on this. But so it's a hard choice. But I like this conversation because
right.
I really feel like that was a good era for people to develop in the metal. So, all right, so I'm taking one of mine in the 1996 range. What came out in those years that I absolutely went fucking bonkers for? That's Timeless. Oh, man. Hey, no. All right, I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say Tool, Anemia, right off the bat.
Yeah, that was good.
Record.
That was good.
It came out 96, beginning of 97. And that album, just to me, in itself, was one of those ones that, like, even today, people go back, and it just genre kind of defines that prog influence that a lot of these newer bands have now.
True, I think without that Tool Anemia record shit, I don't know if we would have a Rivers of Nile or some shit like that that's just so, I guess, green to an extent where it's like, I don't know. That's just one of those bands. But that's going back into like nowadays. I don't want to take any type of heat off the Tool shit because Tool obviously is classic and iconic and shit, but I don't know. Prog. Fucking move me. Tool definitely. I don't know if it was so much Anemia, like Laterus with Schism and shit. Like I think that was my first real true Tool experience where I was like, holy fuck, like this album is almost telling me something.
That came out in 2001 as well, so you could actually count that if you wanted to. But to me, that album's not timeless. Like I like
you're right.
all the songs on it that are perfect, but it's like Anemia. That's why I hit it, because like it starts off with Stink Fist, and it's a classic.
Sober.
Goes right into Eulogy, right into Sober's on Undertow from the early 90s.
Damn it, I'm off.
It goes right from Stink Fist to Eulogy, which is another classic, and then to H, which is a terrific song. Then you get 46 and 2. Right off the bat, every song on that record, you're almost 25, 30 minutes into this album has just been a fucking musical just experience for you. And then you get a couple skits leading into Hooker with a Penis, which is, this heavy, consumerism just attack of, about, insulting, like, their fans and themselves about buying records.
Right.
Right off the bat, it's that intermission which leads into Jimmy, which I think, to me, is like my favorite song on that record. Going into the final handful with Push It and Anema being on there in that list. Like, I just don't think there's a moment in that album, if you listen to the whole thing, you're like, oh, this, I can skip like even the interludes are like short enough to be curious and interesting. Like the Iron on Satin's the recipe where the German guy's screaming about the eggs.
Right.
Like, you know, like every bit of it just has its place and it's memorable to people from that generation, and I think that that's why that hits. You know, it's like an easy one to pick for people would be, oh, okay, two albums somebody could pick right off the bat from that era would be Slipknot, Safe, Self-Titled, and Iowa. But to me, I don't say they're timeless because there's songs on there that I think fit that era more compared to, you know, now. I feel like Slipknot's newer albums, as much as I'm not as big a fan of them as I was, actually fit more with being more open and vast in their, you know, themes. So, if you had to pick another, like if you could do it, what would you think?
You're going to help me with the timing of it because I'm not sure what album they were pushing, but I do recall, and a part of me first wanted to say God forbid, right? But because they never really transitioned into something more than that Chains of Humanity fucking album was so fucking great and Gone Forever was great and shit, right? But we went to that concert seeing Chimera up close and personal, and I was all like, I wanted to see Fascination Street, but it's a cover, so just chill out, Nick. Don't worry about it. And they still played that fucking, I can't remember. It had two different guitar solos in it, though. I want to say Inside the Horror by Chimera.
That was actually in the 2000, like I think that was in the 2002 to 2005 range. But you know what? I can actually give you that because, like, I feel like, you know, and I'll tell you why. I'll give you a little asterisk on that one, not due to the time of release on it, but because, but that's when we saw them, and I know what you're talking about because Chimera, they were on Roadrunner for the first two albums, and Roadrunner kind of dicked them around with a lot of, like, with album promotion and their second record, which is fucking terrific. Their first two albums are spectacular.
So
like, in
good.
fact, Chimera fan year, everything I think they put out was good. Mark Hunter is a fucking awesome fucking singer.
We were so fucking close to them. At Ziggy's, god damn it, we were close.
I saw them so much, man. They were so fucking terrific, man. He's actually friends with me on Facebook, man. He's a super funny guy.
Shout out.
And, like, yeah, like, I'll give you that just because, like, I think that because those guys got screwed, you know, like, you know what I mean, that would have put a slowdown on their career. But
Right.
I think that they, like, to me, their music is timeless. Like, I can go back and listen to any album they put out, and I'm like, fuck yeah, this is good. Like, their first record, that Ass Out of Existence, the one they put on Roadrunner, like that debut album I picked up, that album came out in the new metal socket. It's got some kind of, like, new metal-ish vibes to it, but ultimately, like, you know, it's still super heavy, and it's got that Chimera feel, man, but, like, dude, when they hit that second album, man, they put a fucking Impossibility of Reason.
Jesus
like,
Christ.
Wow. Like, they
Wow.
just went right off the fucking charts, man. Like,
Right.
so, you know, like, and like, but then again, that's that thing, like, I'll give you that as them being timeless, because I think any record you put on them, it's just good, and it fits as a metalhead. Like, I think anybody can find something to enjoy on one of the records. Whether, like I look at songs they put out, like, on Broken Glass, where it kind of sounds like a metal single.
Right.
It's got curse words in it, but it does sound like a metal single. It's got a catchy hook and a groovy riff to it and a memorable beat. But then I think of songs like, you know, like that Inside the Horror, and I think of fucking The Disappearing Sun, and you know, The
Nothing
Flame.
Remains.
Yeah, and it's just, they're a band that I can literally listen to anytime, like
Right.
anytime, like, and I think it just it out time frame doesn't matter on it. Give me 10 seconds here. Probably cut that. Hold on, cut the next
Right.
thing.
Well, he's taking a break. I'm going to go ahead and lay it down to the audience. Like, I've done put it out there multiple times that All Fucking Shall Perish was one of the fucking greatest fucking deathcore, death metal fucking bands out there. And it saddens
You see,
me.
you're sparking into that after high school 2006 range, man. See,
Like
that's why I was trying to go into the high school influence is one thing. You know, 25 years later, we're going to put in and go, all right, you know, this is still as good a record as it was back then. Like, you know, like, I'm not going to throw in Limp Bizkit's $3 bill, y'all, and enjoy it as much as I did back in the late 90s. But I'm still going to enjoy it. I'm going to put in that Tool record and still enjoy it just as much. Like, just like, I would. Dude, for me, I can already tell you what my number 2 is. You want my number 2 record to help you out? Let's go ahead and help you out 5 years. I can tell you what my number 2 is.
Nah, mine's Price of Existence.
I'll give you the general Chimera 2001 to 2004 reference for your second, because everything they put out, just give you that. For my number 2 pick of timeless music from that era, I'm going to go with Pantera and the Great Southern Trendkill era. That was 5 years of just fucking absolute brutal goddamn metal. They toured with everybody. It was terrific. That album is top notch, man. Sandblasted Skin, Floods, Underground in America. I mean, goddamn, man, it kicks your ass from start to finish. The Great Southern Trendkill, War Nerve, Drag the Waters. Like, you can't beat that record. It's so intense, and every song still holds up to this day. So for me, that is a great 90s album that was like definitive and still kind of kicks it. And I love every Pantera record. My favorite, I would have to say right off the bat, is a really close draw between Far Beyond and Vulgar. But I'm going to say my top from that era has to be Trendkill, just due to the nature of how they progressed in their sound, like they did every record, and how they kept that going up until 2001, when they would ultimately release their final album.
Right.
It's 20 years old. It's coming 20 years old, or 2000. I'm sorry. It's 20 years old as of now. That's fucking cool shit.
I still definitely feel like there's potential in the future for Phil and Carrie and shit, because like I think that's what the whole fucking idea for coming back and doing a little episode like this is, just give the fans, we're still into the metal and shit, but as of right now we got to change some shit up. And if the quarantine episode comes back, I'm saying if it gets decent remarks and decent regards and shit, like definitely like to do it again.
Well, I'm stuck in home. What are we gonna do?
I'm just saying, I
watch Tiger King and play Doom all the time.
That's what I'm saying. We gave some decent options for fucking people to check out if they wanted to see what exactly set us up and set us off and shit. But it kind of similar to the first episodes that we told everybody what was our fucking, starting records and shit. So I don't want to rehatch and reboot and shit, but at the same time, go check that.
No. That's why I'm just asking, curious about like timeless records. Like, I'm not talking about ones that typically, I'm talking about what I think would be a timeless record. But hey, I could be wrong, but we're not going to get comments from people unless we ask. But that's why I'm asking. I want to know. I want to know what's going on with it. I want to do it. I want to see what people are up to. We're all stuck at home.
Right.
Let's fucking talk. Let's play some video games. Hit us up. We got things. We'll talk. We'll interact. Why not?
So if you want to go ahead and plug your Mixer, Twitch, and shit, YouTube channel.
I've been starting to do the Unbroken Atreyu at Mixer. I've been it's one word. I've been doing it a couple times. I got a few streams up in some of our Warzone games. Let's just goofing off playing Warzone on the Call of Duty. I'm probably going to get some Doom up. I have a Doom 64, like probably a 30-minute stream of the first 5 levels. Unfortunately, I didn't have my data, so I got video but no audio on that one, but I think I got that problem fixed. But yeah, I'm going to be doing that throughout this time period because I'm home. Why not? I like to play a lot of video games, and I haven't been able to in a while, so why not jam down on them and see if anybody's got anything else they want to play too.
Right on. I don't know, but man. I guess until then, we're going to cut this one off.
I'll meet you at the Diamond Casino for some horse racing and some
goddamn right. Let's set up a fucking heist. Put one of those on a goddamn shit.
Yeah, you know what? We will talk to you next time. This has been NonjudgeMetal. NonjudgeMetal. Be sure to share us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And subscribe to our YouTube channel. See you next time.